He didn't just bump into her, he kicked her. Deliberate, sharp, right in the middle of a courtroom, in front of a judge, a jury, and a gallery full of strangers. Officer Brent Collier didn't whisper, didn't flinch, just stared down at the woman he'd struck and waited for her to stay quiet. That's what he thought would happen. But she wasn't just any woman. She was a Navy SEAL, trained in fire, molded by war, and forged in silence. She didn't scream. She didn't crumble. She simply stood up and asked the judge for permission to speak. And what came out of her mouth didn't just shift the mood of that courtroom, it cracked something wide open. What happens when a woman who's carried dying soldiers through firefights is assaulted in a room that's supposed to serve justice? And what happens when she decides this time she's not walking away? It was a courthouse in Birmingham, hardwood benches, old fluorescent lights, and the stale hum of a justice system worn thin. Nova Bennett sat 3 rows from the front. She didn't fidget, didn't pace, just sat still, like someone who knew waiting was part of survival. Her younger brother, Tariq, sat at the defense table, eyes searching for her face every few seconds. Accused of robbery, a charge that didn't fit the kid she knew, but one the system seemed ready to pin on him. Across the aisle sat Officer Brent Collier, white, broad, smirking. The kind of smirk that didn't need words to speak volumes. He'd arrested Tariq. Now he leaned back in his chair like he owned the room. Collier had 6 prior complaints, none stuck. To him, this was routine. A black kid, a courtroom, a family hoping for mercy. But Nova wasn't here to hope. She was here to make sure the truth didn't get buried under paperwork and assumptions. And the man who would soon assault her? He had no idea what kind of storm he was about to wake. Nova Bennett didn't wear her past like a badge. No medals pinned to her chest, no mention of rank. She'd learned early that real power didn't shout. It watched, measured, waited. But if you looked closely, you could see it. In the way she moved, the stillness in her eyes, the scars she didn't cover. She served on Navy SEAL Team 7, the only black woman in her class to make it through selection. There were missions that never made the news, helicopters that never touched down on American soil. She had carried brothers off the field who never made it home. She had cracked encrypted intel with shaking hands while mortars fell in the distance. And now she was back here, not fighting a foreign war, but trying to keep her own family from being crushed by the gears of a broken system. The irony wasn't lost on her, that after surviving IEDs and ambushes, she'd have to face her most personal battle in a courtroom dressed in beige. But Nova wasn't built to rattle. Not then. Not now. What Officer Collier didn't know was this. When you assault a soldier like her, you don't just provoke her, you call her to action. Her name was called. Ms. Nova Bennett. She stood, slow, steady, no theatrics, just presence, the kind that made people stop talking and pay attention without knowing why. She walked to the front of the courtroom like she was stepping into a briefing. Not a courtroom. Gave her name, and then calmly, Petty Officer First Class, United States Navy SEAL Team 7. That turned heads. The prosecutor froze. Collier's smirk twitched. Nova began. Timeline, alibi, evidence. She told it all like facts on a mission. No wasted breath. Tariq picked her up at the airport, 7:48 p.m. Home by 8:30. Neighbor brought food, confirmed on security cam. Midnight, Tariq got sick. Urgent care. Records matched. She was surgical. When she finished, she thanked the court and stepped down. And then Collier moved. As she passed by him, he stuck out his knee. Deliberate, not playful, not subtle. He kicked her in the hip. She staggered but didn't fall, caught herself hand brushing the stand. The room froze. No one moved. No one spoke. The judge looked up but missed it. The gallery saw. A little girl in the back whispered, "Why'd he do that?" Nova didn't raise her voice. She turned. "Your Honor, may I speak?" The judge nodded. She stepped forward. "I've jumped from helicopters under fire, carried friends off the battlefield, but I have never, not once, been assaulted by a police officer. Not in a courtroom. Not in my country." Dead silence. The judge's jaw tightened. Officer Collier, step outside. The cop hesitated, then muttered something and left. But the damage was done. The courtroom had witnessed something they couldn't unsee, and that was just the beginning. Outside the courtroom, a camera had started recording. Someone caught the moment. It wasn't loud or violent, but it was unmistakable. A cop attacking a veteran, a woman of color, in court. Within hours, the clip was online, and within hours more, it disappeared. The original footage, courthouse security, went missing. Glitch, they called it. Nova knew better. This wasn't a glitch. This was a cleanup. She'd seen it before. Overseas when governments wanted to bury truths. But this wasn't Afghanistan. This was Alabama. She made calls, quiet ones. Malik Rowe, former intelligence, now civilian. They're scrubbing your presence, he said. They're labeling it a threat report, saying you intimidated a sworn officer. Nova didn't panic. She'd been trained for this kind of war too. The quiet kind. The kind that wears a tie and deletes files instead of pulling triggers. They were coming for her. Not just Collier, not just the courtroom, the system. And Nova knew the only way to survive this wasn't by staying silent. It was by staying ready. That night she didn't sleep. She waited. Then after midnight, she opened an old laptop, one she hadn't touched in years, pulled a login code from the underside of her kitchen table. Military clearance buried beneath years of dust. It still worked. She didn't try to recover courthouse footage. That was gone. But she dug deeper beneath archived maintenance logs and mislabeled video files. 3 directories down, she found it. The raw footage. Grainy. Real. Untouched. Time-stamped. Officer Brent Collier. Leg out. Impact. Her stagger. His smirk. She copied the file, not once. 3 times. Flash drive. Portable hard drive. DVD and a children's book. Then the lights flickered. A red camera light blinked in the hallway. Surveillance grade. Someone was watching. She didn't speak. Didn't panic. Just moved. Shut the laptop, tucked it under the sink. Pulled a duffel bag. Boots, documents. A foil-wrapped burner phone. She crouched low, peeked through the blinds. A black SUV crept by. No lights. No music. A blinking diode in the windshield. She waited. Watched it disappear. They were telling her they were close. She already knew, but she also knew something they didn't. This wasn't fear. This was protocol. She'd spent years learning how to disappear, how to fight wars no one talked about. If they thought they were the only ones with a playbook, they were wrong. Nova had her own. By sunrise, the clip had surfaced again, this time from someone in the gallery. Not as clean, but enough to prove the assault. News picked it up. Then came something no one expected. A live stream. A teen boy, hoodie zipped to his chin. "My name is Terrence Holt," he said. "They put me in Pine Hill Recovery when I was 15. Said I had episodes. I didn't. I remembered. I remember Officer Collier slamming me against a wall, planting something in my bag, and no one believed me, until I saw what he did to Miss Bennett." The internet erupted. Hashtags spread. Civil rights attorneys demanded an investigation into every one of Collier's arrests. Silence broke like glass. Because when a teenage boy locked away for years finds his voice, and a soldier refuses to stay quiet, the dam starts to crack. And for the first time in Collier's career, his badge didn't protect him. The truth did. The courtroom was packed. Not for Tariq's case, for what it had become. Justice. A reckoning. Nova sat in the front row this time. No shadows, no fear. Tariq beside her, his knees bouncing. The new prosecutor stepped forward, young, clear-eyed. "Your Honor," she said, "we're dropping all charges against Mr. Bennett, effective immediately." The gallery gasped, soft, restrained. A breath long held, finally released. The judge nodded. "Very well, Mr. Bennett, you are free to go." The gavel struck once. No applause, no shouting, just quiet, dignified, powerful. Outside, a woman with a microphone asked, "Miss Bennett, will you be pressing charges?" Nova turned, calm as ever. "We don't need to," she said. "Justice already did." That clip went viral again. Not because it was loud, because it was true. Collier was indicted on 3 counts. Headlines called it the Bennett effect. Schools taught her case in civics classes. Muralists painted her face not as a victim, but as a warrior. Nova didn't bask in it. She brewed tea, sat by the window, and remembered her father. Falsely accused, never vindicated. She whispered, "Your granddaughter did what you couldn't. Not for fame, not for revenge, for truth, for family, for those watching from the 3rd row, hoping someone would stand." And she did. If Nova's story moved you, even for a moment, remember this. Justice doesn't always wear a badge. Sometimes it wears scars. Sometimes it walks in silence and leaves with a flag. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to hear more stories that refuse to be buried. Truth matters. Let's carry it forward.